Replays are on. Beers are cold.
Cheers.
Cheers, mate.
Very nice and cold.
Thanks.
Oh, boys.
All right,
Another
we're at
Sunday,
it again.
Here we are.
Cheers.
Cheers.
That's good. Welcome back to another podcast here on the Broadwater, live on the Gold Coast. We got Sam, we got Chris, and myself, Jason, again. And we're back on another Sunday, another couple of beers. How are we feeling today, boys?
Feeling good.
Yeah? Yeah? You feeling good after this workout this morning?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Good workout feed.
Yeah, we had quite a lot of people there this morning, actually. There's about 8 of us.
The more people,
Yeah.
the more energy.
Yeah,
That's
I
it.
mean, we're truly living up to the tagline of what Broadwater is all about, eh? Cultivating positivity through health, wealth, and wellness.
That's
We're
it.
definitely getting that health stuff right,
That's
the
it.
important
minus the
stuff.
beers.
Sweat out
That's
the
pretty
weekend
much
booze.
Yeah.
All right, boys. Today, I'm going to start with a bit of a heavy topic, something that a lot of people have been talking about this week.
Fire away.
George Floyd.
Where do we start?
Where do we start? I mean, first of all, sympathy goes out to all of his family and everybody in the States protesting at the moment. I mean, it's one of those things that, we like to, we've only done a couple of episodes, but we like to preach critical thinking on all scenarios. We like to think of the positives and the negatives and try and navigate, to form your own opinion and don't always listen to the media and all that stuff. But there's only one way to look at this situation that just happened, and it's just wrong. It is just wrong. I mean, everybody watching, I'm not even going to explain what happened because we all know what's happened already. And I just want to say, feelings and emotions are with everybody over in Minneapolis at the moment. Yeah. Is there anything you want to say about this? And what? I just can't believe that it's fucking 2020 and this shit's still happening.
Yeah, I don't even know what to say.
You just hope that he becomes a martyr for change. Like, this is significant enough to say enough's enough. The curtain's been pulled back and expose the culture. And, there's going to be no stone left unturned with the amount of eyes on this. And hopefully it'll undo the decades that would have led to this poisonous culture that culminates to this point that's probably culminated many times in the past, and there's enough catalyst behind it to say this will be the change, and we'll see a significant improvement moving forward with, I mean, not to go too far into things we probably don't fully understand, but in general, just an improvement to that
100%.
service and interface.
Yeah. Yeah. It's you're just lost for words sometimes. You're just lost for words. It doesn't happen often. When you're talking on a podcast or you're putting yourself out there on social media, that you're often lost for words because of a lot of it's planned. But this topic is just.
Oh yeah, you see the video, and it's horrific. Like I haven't had that feeling in my body for a long time.
Yeah.
When you just see
I agree. I totally agree.
Guy's got his hand
The
in his
people are
pocket and
outraged.
He's
Yep.
pushing down on his knee to get that extra force, and the other cops are just so blasé and relaxed, like it's.
And it's
another day.
he's done it before, like a million times.
Yeah,
Just
that's what makes me think it's a culture thing, just by the.
Yeah. Do you think the riots and everything is hopefully going to change something over there that's going on?
Yeah. I think that's how America works. They're very vocal. They'll get out there and protest pretty hard. It's a very violent rioting from the footages that we sort of get shown.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
It's years and years of build up. All that passion,
Feel the aggression,
all that aggression, that anger, and the separation between cultures.
Yeah.
And the divide, and now they're really trying to push and stand up. They've just had enough.
Yeah.
Enough's enough.
Yeah.
Like you're saying, it's 2020. What the fuck?
What's going on? Do you think it has a lot to do with city living? Do you think there's any sort of built up angst and stress in people? Do you think the same things would be happening out in city towns in America,
there's an
country
issue
towns? Sorry, in
where
America.
you get cops that go into a training facility and then they post to locations that they're not from.
Yeah.
So they're kind of foreign to this place, and this place is, say, a ghetto in a big city that for decades has just been the way it's been, and new cops will just keep coming in and the crime rates don't change, and the situation doesn't change, and you just throw fresh cops in there, and you just have that same violent clash.
Yeah.
There's not that community-based spirit where, you know, a police in a community town would know the people and
That's
would be
it.
like, oh yeah, that's how they interact, and we're here to just improve on and govern the safety and freedom of people, not to overly enforce our beliefs and rights and the like to an extent. Like what you would do in this situation you would have to cater for this situation based on the culture of that sort of micro environment. So in cities, that culture is going to be a lot more aggressive. People don't think about consequence as much as far as human interface. If that makes sense.
Yeah. No, definitely. What do you think it's like out in the country towns? Because obviously
more
America,
community involvement for sure.
Yeah, America's a very, very diverse country. I mean, you can be in one state and it'll even look different to another state. Australia's very much, the landscape's kind of similar no matter where you go kind of thing. But America's very vast and very different. But like in general, like, you know, city life versus country life, are we maybe through COVID and through all these, you know, coming up as a community and fighting back against, you know, the establishment almost, and what it has been for centuries now going back, are we cultivating our mindset to a more simple life, do you think?
I think we are. I think in times of isolation and lockdown, people are reflecting on what they really need and what they want. It's a time where people have had a chance to think.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people in the community, you know, are getting around gardens. They hit up Bunnings and go buy out all the plants and whatnot. And they're getting to the more simple ways of life. And a lot of people have these goals to get a place in the hinterlands and retire out in the country.
Everyone's baking bread, making soups, and just doing the simple things in life.
And you know what? Probably happier. Probably happier.
Yeah, less stress. Because the marketing beast isn't jammed down your throat. Because
Yeah.
you're not driving on the highway, listening to the radio, seeing all the advertisements and all the culture and crap that gets shoved down your throat. You're sort of more in tune with who you are and your feelings and what you actually want and need.
That's right.
And you've got that more intuitive recognition of what you enjoy, not what you're told to enjoy.
The marketing beast is just forcing all these thoughts and beliefs down your throat, you know, and cultivating this image in your head of what you believe life should be, what you believe you should have. Yeah, the big city dream. Like, you gotta have that house and that car, and you gotta have that job or that business.
Nice.
Yeah, you definitely fed that growing up. That is for damn sure.
You are.
That's for damn sure.
It's like a moth to a bright light.
Yes.
And then you fly into that bright light and zap.
Yeah.
It's like, remember you travel the world and you see big cities, like proper big cities. Like, you know, Brisbane, Gold Coast, it's got a great blend of that country town atmosphere to it.
Yeah, Brisbane is a
bit
good
of
city like that, and the Gold Coast as well.
For sure. But I was in Tokyo last year, the year before, and you just stare at you just watch people and in these little apartments out on their balcony or whatever, going about their day-to-day life, and you're like, these people are just stacked on top of each other, living in filth.
Yeah.
You know, like, it's a clean city, but you just cannot have hygiene when there's that many people just stacked on top of each other. Like, to comprehend, like,
and what does that do for mindset? Like, you know what I mean? Like, the disconnect with the natural environment. They're just living in a dense industrial environment, you know, like.
And there's no sense of community. And where is, I guess, even in Australia, where's our sense of community now in cities? Like, the only thing we really have is sport. Churches are not what they were 30 years ago. So people have lost the sense of community. And what is a sense of community? It's having that love, trust, and respect.
A sense of inclusion as well.
Inclusion, for sure.
Cultural inclusion, which is what we're not seeing out of these events.
Yeah, you're seeing a segregation of culture rather than, you know...
They're meshing together.
Yeah. And the respect factor. It's something as simple as thanking the bus driver, giving up your seat for an elderly person, and just smiling at people.
Yeah.
You go to a country town, even like Brisbane 10 years ago, and still today, it's polar opposite to these heavily condensed big cities where there's no consequence to be mean to someone because you'll never see them again.
Yeah.
In these little communities, it's more like, for whatever reason, people are just nicer, friendlier, more polite, more respecting to their elders. All those things that when you put them all together, it just makes for a much more pleasant existence.
Yeah, that's right.
I agree with that.
I think there's benefits to living in both areas. You know, growing up in the country is good because you understand all those values of community and involvement and inclusion. And in the city, you also learn the aspects of, you know, our economy as a whole and the monetary system. And
Definitely a bigger cross section.
yeah, definitely a bigger cross section in that area.
Yeah. I think it's good to experience both. Like if you can, as a young person, before you start, you know, getting set in your ways, as one would put it, go and experience it all and try and figure out what it is, because not everybody's geared the same.
Yeah.
Some people hate the country life, some people hate the city life. It's all about like finding the balance of what's going to make you the happiest. And I think it's good that, you know, if you get the best of both worlds, where if you are fortunate enough to be living in the country and then some in the city, and then making that decision of where I'm going to be based for the rest of my life.
Yeah, it makes for a more sound decision. The more you can broaden your experience and knowledge on anything, all it'll ever do is improve the brevity of your decision, because you've got more sort of reference points to allow that decision to be had. So it's not really for us to say it's better to live in the country or it's better to live in the city. I think it's exactly that. It's try to get the exposure and reality of both. And
100%.
And then you can have a...
It's going to get harder. You know why? Commercial real estate, man. This whole post-COVID world we're going to enter into with Zoom meetings and everybody working from home and commercial real estate is just...
It's like the world's flipping on its axis.
It's crazy.
The business world is changing. You know, entrepreneurs these days, younger people can start businesses
like
online.
Well, our office brought in a few years ago to say we're going with the Berlin model. We've got all these hot desks. You know, the future is 30% of the people will be home at any one time, so we can shrink the size of the offices, which makes a huge difference on the overhead cost, annual costs.
Yeah.
But we never really implemented it. It was just kind of an idea.
Yeah.
We built the offices and then we just didn't put in a system to actually implement. We all just come to work every day.
Yeah. Well, it becomes a routine. It becomes the thing that like this is the way we run our business. It's hard to change.
The numbers get counted out though, and it's like you're going to save a lot of money if you do this work from home model, and people were just too afraid to pull the trigger on it. So then COVID comes in, and the order is, unless you absolutely have to come into work, don't come into work from home.
Yeah.
And it's shown in a lot of industries the success of that model, like the ability with things like Teams and Zoom and all
Productivity's
that
up. Working from home.
It is for
Productivity is up.
Big time.
You read everywhere. Even New Zealand, the Prime Minister announced the other day that she's thinking about introducing a 4-day work week.
Oh, I love that.
To try and increase productivity.
I've been on that genuinely ever since I entered the workforce. I was like, you could see the inefficiencies that were just deliberately embedded in there. Like people just stretching things out longer than it needs. And it's like, we could do this in 4 days. Not every industry for sure, but we could do this in 4 days, what we're doing here. What games are we playing at? I'd love to see a top direction to say, let's really push for a 4-day week. And I think you'll find people's, mental health and stress and all that, you'll see benefits in welfare and health systems based on giving them an extra day to go out and exercise and do some positive things for themselves, for their community. And people will become more engaged with their community because they're spending more time out wandering it's like the more I've gone on walks, the more I've felt a community in a suburb.
That is
and you're like,
fact.
I've been at this park so many times. I'm meeting people that are in the area, and
like we were
getting friendlier.
Like we were discussing yesterday, Sam. Like when we went for a walk ourselves, and how good was it just being in nature, right? And there's just no advertising around. There's no marketing. It's just you getting in tune with yourself and with nature. Just away from the marketing beast.
We were sort of saying, like, when we're hunter and gatherers, if you saw red or some aggressive colour, your fight or flight mechanism triggers,
Yeah.
whether it's fight, flight, hunt, or whatever. But you know, you're going into that sort of adrenaline-based mindset of stress, and I think it's, you know, like your parasympathetic nervous system versus sympathetic nervous system, or whatever. But essentially, like when you're driving down the street, when you're walking down the street, when you're watching TV, like it's all this marketing beast hacks into that fear response, and it uses it to get your attention.
Yeah.
So you're constantly on this like hyper.
You're on edge.
You're alert.
You're in a
Yeah.
state of,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And you go out for a bushwalk, and you just sort of, that all just gets turned down, and you're like, why am I so relaxed? This feels amazing.
Yeah.
Because you don't have all that marketing and sort of foreign colours just sort of jammed down
Smashing you all the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys got those glasses that you put on that block the blue light?
I got 2 pairs.
Oh yeah, no, I haven't. I haven't got any of that.
These things are magic. It just like came into my mind. It's like almost we go into the forest, you put these things on, and you don't see
That's a good idea.
anything anymore.
I was copping so much crap playing golf yesterday because I've got this orange pair.
Yeah.
And they're like goofy, you know,
Wraparound.
dad style glasses.
Yeah.
Wrap
Yeah,
around and
yeah.
they're proper orange. But you put them on, and it's like the filter that you see, like everything's just brighter and happier, and you're like, wow, this
Rose
is
tinted
fun.
glasses, man.
This is
Rose
fun.
tinted glasses, man. That's where it came from.
I was loving it.
Yeah.
Couldn't see my golf ball though.
That doesn't help, does it?
Yeah. There's always a trouble, eh?
Yeah. But yeah, man, geez, commercial real estate, just to come back to that, it's been the bedrock of so many investment companies over the years and economies. It's like the backbone
It's
of
the backbone of
economies,
the economy.
man.
I never really
Commercial
thought
real
of that.
estate. And
It
now
really
it's,
is.
like you're saying, man, the world is spinning right now.
Decentralization.
It's
Decentralization is huge, and it comes into the third industrial revolution. You know, it's happening. We're seeing it now. You know, Uber. It's more decentralized than a standardized taxi service. We've got Airbnb.
Yep.
You know, it's more decentralized.
Uber's the best way to explain it to someone if they're like, "Oh, what do you mean?" It's like game changer.
Yeah,
for
it's just
sure.
increasing efficiency.
Yeah. Speaking of, did you guys see Trump's announcement last night?
Which, oh yeah.
Oh my goodness.
What was it?
Oh,
What was
he
it?
is so
He's
against
going-
China.
going
Oh,
to town
China.
on
He's going to town on the
China.
man, and
Yeah.
he's the whole Hong Kong situation.
tariffs.
He's trying to back Hong
It's
Kong,
volatile,
and
man.
it is very volatile.
Yeah.
That it all comes like back to thinking about Australia and how it's going to affect us and everything. And obviously, a lot
It's
of our
opportunity.
exports go to China, but
It's a big
exactly
opportunity.
huge opportunity
Yeah.
because if China suddenly goes right, cutting off imports from China, we're going to manufacture everything in our own country. We're going to bring jobs back to America, which is exactly what Trump has been preaching since he became president.
Yeah.
How long is it before Australia starts following that same
'Cause
mentality?
Yeah.
We've got the luxury of having a massive country, a small amount of people, and
Yep.
we can say our economy can work quite well with farms and resources going straight out and no processing.
Yeah.
I remember like walking to school and there's this factory there and it's just empty, and I'm like, oh, what's that? And I'm like, oh, they used to make furniture there. I'm like, well, why don't
Used
they
to.
make furniture there anymore?
Yeah.
Well, it's just cheaper to get it from overseas. I'm like, yeah, but
Yeah.
and even as a 10-year-old, I'm like, so you're building it in that country, putting it on a ship, bringing it here, transporting it to here, and then to here, and that's cheaper. What's going on there?
Yeah.
And you know, it's
Cost of labor.
Yeah.
it's
Cost of
it's
labour in
the
Australia.
slavery of the
But
manufacturing in there.
okay, we talk about the cost of labor, and that's what has kept China, you know, being one of the largest growing companies in the world, is because they have slave labor over there and they use people to make
Yeah.
these things for cheap. It is getting to the point now with technology where we can, here in Australia, automate a lot of things.
Yeah.
So the cost of labor, I mean, if you right now are in a position, you're a smart young entrepreneur and you can find some backing, there is a huge opportunity here to set up automated manufacturing, which will still employ a lot of people.
I would be.
So it's not like
yeah.
it's not going to employ people. It's still going to be very good for our economy.
But it's.
But to set up automated manufacturing using AI and
Yeah.
and just machine learning and all the things that we now can enhance, which we couldn't 10
Yeah.
years ago,
yeah.
there's no reason why we shouldn't be doing
Yeah.
manufacturing in our countries.
Even 3D printing facilities, you know,
Yeah.
you can transfer files globally
Yeah.
in a
Yeah,
matter of
yeah,
seconds,
yeah.
download it,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
print
Yeah.
anything,
Yeah.
anywhere,
Yeah.
at any time.
I'm pretty excited at the prospects. I mean, it's another one of the things that the way we've just done it is the way we've always done it. Like,
Yeah.
we pull iron ore out of the ground, we sell it to China for $1. They process it and sell it back to us for $100. And it's worked, you know,
Yeah.
we're doing well, our economy's great.
Yeah.
It's not sustainable. Eventually that model falls over when your raw product is no longer. But I think this is going to kind of force the decision point to say, well, do we pull the trigger and say we're not going to rely on that being the processing
Plant of the world.
place?
Yeah.
We're going to do that here.
Yeah.
And how are we going to do that? And,
Yep.
and AI, automation and the like is going to be a
Is the
massive
answer.
It's a
factor to
driver,
that.
huge
100%.
driver.
And then there'll probably be more of a social employment model. The unions, it's a very sensitive
Create a lot of
topic for
jobs.
a lot of people. Like unions, like I think they're fantastic, they're required, but in a lot of industries, you see them sort of being to their own demise. Like they'll say you have to do it this way, and then it's no longer profitable, so you just don't do it. And then you say, well, we'll just get China to build it. So it's kind of like there probably needs to be a bit of a rework of how that looks. So it's fair for the workers, it's fair for the people taking the risks to do the businesses, but essentially getting manufacturing back into Australia.
Yep.
And we're starting to see it with government contracts to say you've got to build this portion of it in Australia. That's great. That's fantastic. That's what we need. At the end of the day, I look at it as we build it in Australia, we're paying Australians to do it. Even if it costs more, they're paying tax on the income you give them. So
The
if I'm
government's still getting
Australia,
a good check.
you're getting that money back. And then
Yeah.
the money you give them, you spend, they spend. Every
Yeah.
time they're spending, that
Goes back into
transaction,
the property market.
you get a clip as
Yeah,
well.
exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
it's all going into your own economy.
Yeah.
Very little of it just sits in the dirt, you know.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think it's a massive opportunity, like you said, for some young entrepreneurs or some established businesses to start to potentially increase their scopes and say, well, what would it look like to start manufacturing?
And the
X,
thing
Y, Z?
is, it's not out of the realms of possibility. There's a
Not
lot
at all.
of old factories lying around from
they didn't knock them down.
They used to make cars, they used to make furniture, like you were saying. They're still there. They're just a bit old.
Yeah.
But there's no reason why they can't be rebooted. They don't have to rebuild infrastructure. It's already here, some of it.
Yeah.
It's not all been changed into housing, you know, whatever. That
And that will bring the sort of economy required for those country towns to be what they were.
Once
to
upon
say
a time,
to say, you know, kids, you don't have to leave here to go and get a job.
Yeah.
There's sustainable employment, and you
Yeah.
can enjoy the luxuries of what you enjoy in country towns.
But the one thing, obviously, our economy is heavily reliant on exports to China when we're talking beef, foods, all that sort of thing. If we suddenly say, goodbye China, we're going to start manufacturing a lot of our stuff here, the relationship with China is going to be a bit, how are you going? And then they might just decide to put tariffs on our exports.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And you know,
Yeah.
it might just it's
been
a
that
big
relationship
scale
we've
of
needed
finding
for
the
so long.
balance. Yeah.
It's just such a large part of our economy, and I don't
Yeah.
know the numbers. I'm not an expert, but it's definitely, there's a reason we've kept, you know, that relationship,
Yeah.
because they're such a big customer.
Hell yeah.
There's
Yeah.
other emerging countries, like, you know, the labor rate in China was increasing, so other countries started to be the Chinese model and start these large manufacturing of complex components. Maybe they'll just become, because the workers eventually get to a point where they start to get a bit more money and a bit more power against the tyranny governments or whatever it might be.
Everyone grows.
Essentially, everyone grows, and then they're like, I can actually afford an Australian steak. Let's start bringing them in here.
Yeah,
and all of a
yeah,
sudden,
yep.
Thailand's importing the same amount of beef that China was. It's like the market will kind of always prevail, and if this super beast is no longer a super beast, if like the interesting point will be if America start on the let's, you know, end the trades, and then the other countries start to follow. What would that look like, and would there be opportunities to export to other countries that are potentially
Coming
lifted
up.
by the capitalising on the
I
opportunities
see what you
that,
mean. Yeah.
that are sort of taking in play? But it's going to be a volatile.
But do you
trend.
think
It's going to
that
be a rebalancing of the world.
Yeah.
Rebalancing
Yeah,
the
it's
entire
actually
world.
it's
Yeah.
quite a large scale.
Yeah, I guess in
Potentially.
terms of that development, it's like Australia will be able to self-sustain itself, but in terms of exports to other countries, right? Like you got countries like India that have an extensive
massive.
population, and they get paid pittance for what they do,
Yeah.
and they have a lot of drive as well. So other countries would
Yeah.
definitely be buying more so from places like that than from Australia.
There'll be one country to really prosper if the world kind of goes down the path of where Trump's kind of pointing.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if it will or not. It's a big shift. It's a
It's
big
huge.
shift.
It is huge.
And
Yeah.
all because, it's not a false flag, but it's like, oh, you didn't tell us about this until a couple of weeks later. And yeah, it's the consequence of what these decisions would potentially do. I don't know if it's going to fully play out the way
I
that
think it's all going to come down to the next presidential election. If Trump remains in power, high chance of it happening. If he doesn't, holy, everything that he's done in the last 4 years, I'm sure someone would just come in and reverse a lot of what he's done.
Yeah.
So, interesting. Very interesting. But he's definitely, he also announced that he's pulled out of the World Health Organization. He's pulled his funding. $450 million a year worth of funding he's pulled because the WHO, he's basically saying, was hiding information and didn't tell the world quick enough about what was happening with what he called the Wuhan virus. He didn't even call it the coronavirus. He called it the Wuhan virus.
Well, that's pretty common.
Yeah.
To name it after the city that it's come from.
But he's got China in the crosshairs, and he is looking to pull that trigger.
But
he's really trying to get to the bottom of it.
Interestingly, he's had him in the crosshairs before this.
Yeah.
And China said, oh, maybe the Americans did this COVID thing, and it's like...
Yeah.
Stirring the pot.
It's kind of scary when you think about
Stirring
China.
the geopolitical pot.
There's so many reasons to think critically about China at the moment. Even think of things like TikTok.
Yeah.
Man, I've got a conspiracy theory about TikTok.
Yeah.
Like everybody knows that it's a Chinese company.
Yeah, it was
if you really read the terms and conditions about downloading the app, it's almost like what we were talking about on the show last week with the Australian government making you download this app on your phone for tracking.
Yeah, track you where you're going.
TikTok can access all your data on your phone, everything that they want to do by you clicking the yes to terms and agreements.
Gathering data about foreign countries.
But it's scary because the brilliance of their marketing and what they've done. And again, this is just a wild conspiracy theory, but it just makes so much sense to me. You think about how the platform became so popular. They basically allowed people to become famous almost overnight. They've projected that about themselves, like TikTok. Hey, you can get 1 million views or 1 million followers.
Yeah.
It's all about. But it's almost like TikTok makes that decision for you.
Yeah.
And if you look at the most famous TikToker, Charli D'Amelio or whatever her name is, young teen girl who's got I think it's like 45 million followers on TikTok or something, almost overnight. She's become this huge sensation, and everybody sees her as this chick making $50,000 per TikTok or whatever it is.
She's just idolized.
Yeah, she's idolized. But you think about it, and you're like, well, okay, if I was starting a platform, what's the best way to get people onto my platform? Everybody wants to be famous. Everyone wants to get rich in this social media age we live in. All right, I'm going to take some girl who just seems like your average Joe, and I'm going to make her famous. I'm going to spread her to what's called the For You page, and I'm going to get her out there, get her all the views, get her all the likes, make her a superstar, so that that happening convinces all young girls and guys around the world. You can do it too. Hey, you can do this. You can have this life. You can become famous overnight, and you can do this, and you can do this. Because
throw your videos on TikTok,
Instagram and YouTube and whatever. That takes time.
Yeah.
That takes a long time to build your following over 5 years and get this going. And TikTok, it's almost instant. It's instant. You can become famous overnight.
On video. So how does TikTok work?
So TikTok, you basically, and again, there's so many social media creators and stuff that are so against TikTok because they think that there's no creativity in it. You're just copying trends. Yeah. You're copying people just like doing dances and using the same music and whatever. Yeah. So what it is an app that's based around, it started as like a dancing thing. People would do like little dances and stuff and do voice dubs and like all these things and cool filters and that. Short little videos, very short videos. It's almost like Vine. Do you remember Vine?
Yeah, I never got into Vine.
Yeah, I never got into Vine either.
The concept was the same though. Very short clips and you just watch the video and it's very entertaining and you just sit there and scroll through like hundreds of videos and they're all, if you're creative enough, but not creative at the same time. It's kind of like, it's very entertaining and you can watch these things for hours on end.
Play to the algorithm.
Yeah, you play to the algorithm. Yeah. And people are just like seeing this and going crazy over it. And they're just like, oh, I can become famous and this and that. And you see people with like 3 or 4 posts on TikTok that have thousands and thousands and thousands of followers and likes already. And it's just like, well, you didn't do that. TikTok did that for you. And again, I think it's all about getting the users.
Because how easy is it to sort of, if you own the algorithms, to be able to...
You can do whatever you want.
You control the
You
information.
can do whatever you want.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's all about
like
information.
Instagram did this a few years back where they changed their algorithm because they went, hang on a second. Like, we use a tool where creators can pay us to promote them more to the audience. But people are getting so big on Instagram at the moment, it can get up to like 1 million followers, and that's their following. You post a picture, every one of those single million people sees the photo. They decided, hey, well, if we want to make more revenue on this tool of ours where you can pay to promote your images, we need to stop that from happening because these people are getting too much reach. So what they did is create this algorithm where your reach is so much less than it used to be. You post a picture, out of your 1 million followers, maybe 200,000 will actually see it.
Oh, really?
So there's like a ring. So it goes out to like 10,000 people. Again, this is assuming you got a shit ton of followers.
Yeah.
Goes out to that initial ring. If it does well in that ring, it goes to the next ring. If it does well in that ring, it goes to the next. So it compounds
on itself if it does well.
So you will basically never reach all of your followers anymore like you used to be able to.
Yeah,
never.
right.
So that encourages people to use their pay to promote tool.
So they do have a pay to promote.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Because I thought when it first rolled out, because I think they launched it in Australia first as the guinea pig, and they're like, we're not going to show you how many followers people have or how many likes.
Oh, that was a different thing.
And
that
it's
was
going to be
different.
for mental health or whatever.
That was the likes, yeah.
And it was to do with mental health.
Yeah.
Was what they were saying, and I'm like, just give it a few months and they'll start saying, oh, if you pay money, then we'll
show the
people.
likes.
So they haven't done that yet.
That move, like that was an interesting time because even I thought, I'm like, well, how's that going to affect the mentality that people have on Instagram?
I kind of get it, but
well,
it seemed a bit.
Just thinking about it now,
another agenda.
That just controls what people do. Like all these people now, like this morning when we were down there exercising, there was a group of people doing TikToks.
Yeah.
Like it's controlling what they're doing in
like
their
aliens.
day-to-day lives.
Yeah.
What are they doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's all
it's crazy how quick
try and get famous on this TikTok platform.
Crazy like the
milking in the users to get their data and track everyone in the world.
The exponential
conspiracy.
culture change. Like before phones existed, culture changed like on a very linear path, and it was a very big gap between the generations of these cultures.
Yeah.
Now it's like every 3 years there's significant culture swings. And it's all based on the social platform apps that are coming through, and they kind of brainwash everyone to say, this is what's cool now, do this. Now this is what's cool, do that. And you just lap it up.
And the attention span.
The attention span.
It's getting shorter and shorter.
Yeah. What's next?
I don't know. Well, you think of like, I was having this chat with you guys this morning where just purely talking about YouTube and vlogging and that sort of thing, like, vlogging started, you'd make like a 20-minute video of your day, and people had that attention span. Then it cut to 10 was the optimal time for like advertising and that thing. Now it's like you watch the big guys like Logan Paul and Jake Paul and like all the people they're associated with, and Mike Malak. Yeah, they're cutting it to like 5 minutes, 4 minutes, 3 minutes. It's all about the bang, 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 quick fun, quick vlogs. No one's interested in watching your 20 minutes of your day anymore. It's all about bang, bang, bang. And the new thing now is, hey, it's podcasting. If you look at the growth trend in podcasting that's happening at the moment, it's actually huge. And it's still in its infancy.
It surprised a lot of people, the long-winded conversations and people being willing to listen to it for hours.
Yeah.
But I think the beauty of it is, you can typically put on headphones and do something, and that's in the background. The real estate of your ear is not as valuable as your eyeballs, because you can have something in your ear playing while you're doing work, while you're doing workouts, while you're doing a lot of productive things throughout your day. So
that's for sure.
It makes sense in that regard. But I think what did surprise people was the attention span. And that happened in the movie industry. Like when movies were first being made, silent movies, they're like 10 minutes, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And then someone did an hour or an hour and a half, and they're like, oh, this isn't going to work. Yeah. People don't have the attention span for this.
Yeah.
And look at it now.
It's crazy.
2 hours, 3 hour movies. People are loving it.
Yeah.
So it's polar opposites.
It's weird. So what do you think is going to happen though with podcasting? I mean, for now, like a good podcast, I think everybody can agree it's like 45 minutes an hour, right? That's people's attention span. They're out for a walk, driving to work. It's there 45 minutes an hour. Is it going to cut to 20 minutes one day? Do you have to be more entertaining? Do I have to entertain you on my podcast, or are you just here to listen to me talk? Like, what's it going to be? There's a podcast in America, actually going through a bit of strife at the moment, and a bit of drama. It's called Call Her Daddy.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. No, but it's about these two girls who literally talk about like sexual things and this and that. But for what it just blew up.
Call Her Daddy?
Call her daddy.
Oh,
yeah. And it's actually owned by a company called Barstool Sports.
Yeah,
they own a bunch of IP, a bunch of different podcasts and everything. And
Yeah.
they recently had a cap raise which valued them at $450 million. So that's
true.
really cool. Yeah. But the way they edit their podcast is more like a vlog style. It's really interesting, and like they'll cut it here, have multiple cameras, and they're trying to entertain the audience while they're talking absolute rubbish about giving blowjobs on the weekend and all sorts of things. But yeah, to me, it's always like, well, think about what's coming, and maybe podcasting is going to be a thing because people are liking independent voices these days. It's not all about mainstream media and listening to this. Because people know they're being brainwashed.
Well, that's right. It's all scripted. Whereas,
Well,
like podcasting, we're just talking.
Yeah.
Whatever we
We're not
whatever we
experts
think on the
anything.
spot.
It's just
Whatever we
talking
think.
about what we
And
think.
it's good
there's
to-
critical thinking about
Yeah,
what's
it's
going on.
Hear
literally
alternative
like
points of view, and you
Yeah.
won't
what
get
we
that
sit
on
and
any
talk
news
about.
channel.
No way.
Having
Can you imagine a reporter saying, "Oh, I don't know, but you
Yeah.
know, maybe this."
Yeah.
No one's gonna listen to them anymore.
Yeah. Everyone just
Yeah.
turns into the weatherman, where he doesn't know shit.
Yeah. Everyone's like, "Shut up, another man. You don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
You're wrong."
Yeah, it's gonna be sunny, you know.
Yeah.
It's gonna be good.
Get your boards out.
It's just pissing down rain. You
Sick.
can't go to the reef.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do see some. It is a blend. Like you see some podcasts where they act like an old school radio station where they've got the sound effects, the quick cuts into this, that, and the other, and they've got a stage thing. And it's, there's a huge market out there, and some people like that.
That's true.
I'm not a fan. I'm a bit dull.
Well, that's been another podcast, guys. I hope you enjoyed that episode. And once again, thoughts go out to George Floyd and his family and everybody protesting over there in America at the moment. And
Stay safe.
stay safe. Yes, please try and stay safe. And
Get your
we'll be
message
watching
out
the
there.
news.
Bye.
So,
We'll keep updated.
Stay safe.
yeah, absolutely. We'll catch you next week for another episode. And from us here on the Broadwater, have a fantastic day. Cheers,
Have a
boys.
good one. Stay safe. Stay healthy.
Here on the Broadwater.
Cheers. You.